Anna's going to talk a little bit about self-assessment and how you can access this and just view where you're at right now.
Yeah, thanks, Jenna. So um, this is a self-assessment that is available online for free, and we're also going to provide access to it along with the slides and the webinar. So this is called the Professional Quality of Life Scale, and it's a measure of compassion satisfaction and compassion fatigue, but it also looks at burnout. So this is a great way for you to kind of check in with yourself. You don't need to go somewhere to complete it. You can do it on your own. And there's a self-rating form that comes along with it. So you add up the scores that you receive. And you're going to assign for each of these statements a different number based on how often you've had these feelings in the last 30 days. So I think it's important that we check in with ourselves on these things because we may not even realize, as Jenna was saying, that some of these things, we may not know that it's a result of some of the things that we hear every day, and that the way we're feeling is something that we can actively change. We can work to resolve some of those feelings of fatigue just by taking care of ourselves. But first we have to realize that we need to do that, and that there's something that we can do and help ourselves develop like a plan. And we're going to talk about those things in just a few moments throughout the rest of our presentation. But the Professional Quality of Life scale was developed by Dr. Beth Hudnall. And like I said, it'll give you a good understanding of where you fall in regards to compassion satisfaction and compassion fatigue. Because you may be experiencing both of these things, not necessarily independent of each other. You might have days where you feel really satisfied with what you're doing, and you've had those rewarding moments with students. But there might be days where you don't feel that way and you feel like, oh, it's just been a really, really hard day. I don't know what I can do to help these students, So you might be kind of falling in between those things. And I think it's really helpful to recognize where we're at in regard to those things. So self-care strategies. So we're just going to talk about some general ones. And I'm sure you have others that you use that won't be on this list, but it's important that we just wanted to provide some ideas in case maybe you haven't stopped to think about these things recently, because it may be something that we just need to check in with ourselves on from time to time. So we all hear about the physical care. So, sleeping more, eating better, exercising regularly. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. You might have tried mindfulness before, or maybe you haven't. I know initially it was something that I wasn't super comfortable with because I'd never tried it before. But it's a great way to kind of check in, and it's something you can do wherever you are, which is really nice. It doesn't have to be done before school or after school per se. You can kind of do it in the moment. Peer support, engaging in a creative activity. So maybe that's an art project that you like to do at home, putting together puzzles, anything that's kind of allows you to check in with yourself and do something for yourself that makes you feel good. Listening to calming music could be something easy that you can do even just on your way home. At the end of the day, is just put some calming music on, kind of de-stress a little bit that way. Spending time relaxing with family and friends. That's a great option to do, in the evening or on the weekends. But before we go on, I do want to just, this quote was really important to me. I think taking care of myself doesn't mean me first. It means me too. And I think that's really important to remember, we can continue to be empathic adults that help our students succeed, and we can continue to be there for them, but that doesn't mean that we have to give up taking care of ourselves as well. In order to be there for them, we have to take care of ourselves too, so that we can continue to be empathic adults and help these students develop. So let's talk a little bit about this physical care. Like I said, we've probably all heard of this before, but with physical activity, it doesn't have to be going to the gym. I know, sometimes going to the gym is just one more place we have to be. So what can we do at home, in our living room, or even just on a break? Can we go outside and walk around? Can we, take a couple of laps just around the building to kind of check in with, nature a little bit outside of our building and see what things are like out there. But just really be creative with things that you can do. So some ideas that I had that are kind of fun, just for looking for new opportunities to move, stretch and do exercises while watching TV. It doesn't have to be something you do give up watching TV time, because I know sometimes that can be really reinforcing for us as well, as just to have that time to check out and watch a show. Do gardening or landscaping outside. You know, if you're moving around outside, it's really refreshing to be outside in the nice, you know, summer air, or, you know, even if you're doing winter cleanup, that can be really refreshing, and shoveling snow. Choosing to walk or take the bike somewhere instead of driving. If you live close enough to a store, take that opportunity to walk instead, or maybe ride a bike. Incorporate your family into these kinds of things. How can you, that way you don't have to do it alone. It doesn't have to be a solitary activity. You can invite your spouse or friends or coworkers to go for a walk. Or, you know, if it's really cold outside, there's always walking around, like in enclosed areas, like a mall or something like that, to just kind of get yourself moving. Healthy eating. So it's hard to always eat healthy every meal of every day. But if we can even just make, you know, one meal each day a little bit healthier, that can make us feel a little bit better. You know, we're getting the nutrients that we need. We're taking care of our body so that we can continue to be present and function in a healthy way. Sleeping is always really key. We did talk about some of these, you know, compassion fatigue and vicarious trauma can affect our sleep. But as much as we can, we should try to have a regular sleep schedule that we follow. You know, at a certain time of the night, we turn the TV off. You know, we read a good book and we get into bed. You know, that might mean turning off your phone or putting it on Do Not Disturb so that you're not looking at it when you're going to bed. Sometimes tracking like your screen time can be really helpful. You know, there's ways of doing that in your phone. And it'll tell you, like, this is how much screen time you had today. You know, and you can actually set it up to remind you if you're reaching too much time on the screen, which is really helpful if we may not realize these things. So next I want to talk about mindfulness. The definition of mindfulness is the awareness that emerges through paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally to the unfolding of experience moment by moment. I think that's a beautiful way to describe it. Yeah. And that was actually by the creator of mindfulness. But, you know, I think there's been research that shows that there's small to moderate reductions in symptoms of stress, anxiety, burnout, and depression when people engage in mindful activities. And they don't have to be very time consuming. It can just be a time to kind of check in and think about, you know, how am I responding right now? What is my body doing right now? How can I, like, paying attention to maybe those stressful feelings that are going on? You know, you may be tensing your muscles, clenching your fist, your jaw might be tight. There's different things that we can pay attention to. And just by recognizing that, we can help ourselves to relax and focus on, okay, how do I relax my jaw? Because I can feel there's tenseness there. And how do I bring myself back to a more relaxed state so that I can respond appropriately and not respond in a negative way or an overly punitive way because I'm feeling stressed. So it really helps to notice these body sensations, you know, observing what thoughts you're having, and any emotions that are related to stress, and then practicing, you know, being compassionate towards yourself and saying, okay, this is a stressful situation. You know, what can I, you know, do to help myself feel less stressed? And take care of myself too. So engaging in mindfulness. These are the different aspects that kind of go into a mindful experience. So starting with, you know, observation of your environment. So kind of take note of the things that are going on around you. What are the sounds that you hear? What are the things that you're smelling? You know, just paying attention to those things around you, and maybe describing that to yourself. So, you know, I can hear, you know, the children outside playing at recess, you know, through the window, kind of describing those situations to yourself. I can feel that my jaw is tense, you know, and I can feel that just those sensations. Being aware of your surroundings and what's going on around you. What is the situation that's happening maybe to make you feel this way, and recognizing that. And then, you know, taking in the information without judgment. So I think not placing judgment on the things that are happening, but just recognizing that they're there and that they're going on. And it provides a method for coping with these feelings that are associated with stress, and provides a way to do that without having to have anything else. You know, you can just sit there, take a moment, practice some deep breathing, you know, and recognize that, you know, maybe the actions of others are a result of something that happened to them, and not taking that on yourself as being something that you did or you created, you know, and just being aware of what's happening, and thinking about ways that you might be able to change the environment to reduce the likelihood of stress. So what could I do to make this a less stressful situation, or what could I do next time? You know, just really thinking and reflecting on those things.
And I also think that, like in Utah, we have such beautiful mountains, and so many times I go to classrooms and you see the beautiful view, like just the fact that sometimes if you're having a stressful moment with your classroom, just stop for a moment and say, hey, we are always stressed from right now. Let's just take it. Or I'm stressed right now. It's good to tell the kids how to, you know, deal with those feelings and say, let's take 1 minute and just look at the mountains right now. You all have beautiful, you know, most of you have beautiful views in classrooms. I always think that they have at least, you know, a way to look around you and check the environment and see what's pretty around you. It can be like little things, even if it's cold. I'm sure you can find something that's pretty and we can appreciate, and that can kind of calm ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I think that's important that you point out, like doing it in the classroom. So, you know, we don't have to be away from our students to practice these things, but we can actually teach them these coping strategies that they may not have.
Yeah.
You know, by modeling and providing that instruction and then practicing it together. So like, this is what mindfulness is, you know, and I just need to take a moment sometimes to breathe. Let's all practice breathing together, you know, and or looking out the window together and seeing what we can see, and naming, like, I see a tree, you know, I see a bird flying through the air, and like just focusing on things outside of the stressful environment.
Yeah.
So another mindful technique is a mindful body scan. We're going to actually have a quick example of this in a moment that you can watch. It's very short, more instructional than anything else. But it's just taking a mental scan of your body for the different feelings of tenseness that you might have, or that stress that might be evident physically. So focusing on your attention on those tense body parts, like my jaw is clenched, my fists are clenched, you know, what am I checking in with each part of your body and seeing where that stress is being felt. And then focus on it, like just recognize that it's there and let it be there, and then recognize what you're feeling and allow yourself to relax that tense feeling. So then focus on, okay, I need to put my hands at my side so my hands aren't clenched. I need to loosen my jaw. I need to take some deep breaths because my heart feels like it's racing. And I just need to take a moment to kind of pull myself back into a more calm and relaxed state so that I can deal with things in a positive way.